And now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you a dear friend of mine and also an industry icon. He's one of the game changers and is a gentleman that when we started working together was clearly at the top of his game in what he was doing, but he wanted more. He wanted to become a industry icon. And so he's become the world's most probably I'm going to say the premier decluttering coach. So it's my opportunity and my great pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Saahil Mehta. Saahil, how are you?
Hey Dave, great to be here.
Fantastic. It's great. The thing is, I was just saying there, I should never say this, you don't do it in TV. We've been talking before we came live, and we were saying, because people just think, well, why didn't you show us that bit as well? You look amazing. Your journey has been fantastic. When we first got together, I remember we met maybe, it was pre pandemic, which could have been dinosaur days as far as pre pandemic goes. But you already were coaching, and you're a mountaineer, and your family is in the diamond jewelry trade, and so this was a passion project for you to really position yourself as a coach. Could you give us a description of what it is that you do and what it is that you offer to the world?
Sure, Dave. So, offering diamond grade clarity so that people can scale their summits of success faster. As simple as that.
I
And
love.
when we talk about success, it's success in all areas of life. It's your definition of success. It's where do you want to be in health? Where do you want to be in relationships? Where do you want to be in career, in money, in lifestyle? So it's really looking at the entire person and defining first what success means to you and then getting you there faster than before.
Well, that's a sales copy, which I love, and I know that you do this all around the world, and you're training teams all around the world too. But you're also on tour with Marshall Goldsmith as a speaker. Tell us about that.
I was very blessed to come across his presence. I had this dream after listening to him a few times that, wow, he thinks on a very similar wavelength, or I should say, I think very similar to him. And it would be amazing to meet. And then, you look in your network, you find out there's someone who knows him, and then you reach out, you ask, and one thing led to another. And now, actually, he's invited me to join his MG, meaning Marshall Goldsmith 100 Coaches program. And so I'm on my way to Nashville, and we're going to be getting inducted into the program and helping Marshall spread his vision of giving away all his knowledge. So all of us coaches from around the world who are going to join the program will be learning from him and then sharing the knowledge and paying it forward in the years ahead.
That's so exciting, and you deserve it. You're also an author. You've got your amazing book. Do you have a copy to hand by any chance that you can share with us so we can see it? So there we go. Tell us about the book.
The book, wow. So the book is really giving you the tools that are required. And I say tools because, as an engineer by education, I want to ensure that someone doesn't just get inspired, but they have the tools they need to transform. So it focuses on four different dimensions of life, which is mind, body, relationships, and the material world, and gives you tools that you can apply in your life so that you no longer have to shun those confrontations, which I refer to as clutter, and you can overcome. Because as a mountaineer, I can tell you, if you're holding on to things that don't serve you any function or purpose, it's heavy, it takes longer, it's draining, and you may not scale to your summits of success. So again, the book gives you the tools that are required to remove the obstacles that the clutter in your life so that you gain diamond grade clarity and scale your summits of success faster.
You practice this. I love it. It just comes out, and suddenly I go, you know what? I've got to read that book again. It's fantastic stuff. You've created this whole business alongside your existing family business, which is to be a jeweler. Now, was that a challenge to see the two different sides? I mean, the most conflicting side from the movies, I remember in the 80s, nobody else remembers, was a movie called Flashdance, where during the day she was a spot welder, but on the nighttime she liked to dance. And people said you can't do both. When you're coaching and you're working with people, CEOs and decision makers all around the world, is it difficult balancing that and running a family business, or do the two come together?
So, as an entrepreneur, Dave, I've always been told work on the business eventually, and not in the business. Of course, when you're growing, and it's still growing, but in the early stages, you need to be in the business. But I kept thinking to myself, how is this business going to survive without me? If I step away, or if I step back a little bit, it's going to start to crumble. But I realized if I want to live out my purpose and passion, which was working with amazing people, whether it's through coaching or whether it's through workshops, etc., I had to shift from working in the business to working on the business. And I had to start trusting and elevating the people in the team to give them more responsibilities and trust them and make sure that I brought the right people into the company. And so I started promoting people, giving them more responsibility. And of course, with that, they had the option to earn more as well. So, there's a bit of juice there for them. And I realized that, you know what? The company can work without me being involved day to day as well. But it's not easy because sometimes you have the wrong people on the bus. You got to get them off and make sure you get the right ones on. So, there was a bit of a process, but I would say now it's running fairly smoothly. And that's given me the space and time to fill with what I want, which is to impact other people's lives in a positive way. So, truly grateful. And, for all those people that think it's not possible to work on the business and, make crumble, I learned it when I went to the mountains. When you go in the mountains and you're there for a week, disconnected from everyone and everything, the show goes on without you. And so that was a valuable lesson for me that, the show will go on. If I retire, if I'm not here on this earth anymore, whatever the case may be, the show will continue.
When we talked before, when we first started having our discussions about working together, we discussed about the idea of becoming an industry icon, about the positioning that it takes to be able to say, you know what, I trust myself. The world can be me shaped by me trusting that what I put out there will have an impact. Now, I know a lot of people don't think that they're good enough. I don't think that there's space for them in the world. There's coaches everywhere, there's experts everywhere. Where do I fit in with it? In order to be able to grow, you need to be thinking differently. Now, there's no better person I can think of than a mindset coach to talk about imposter syndrome and how people should get over it. So, what would your advice be for that?
Dave, it's quite simple. I mean, I've had that imposter syndrome as well. Where especially when I started this journey, oh, will people pay for this? Will companies hire me? Yeah, there's so many others out there. Am I good enough? And there's one thing that you said, and through the coaching that I had with you as well, and through this program that we're in together, the Industry Icon program, is jump and grow your wings on the way down, something like that. Remember you told me, and I said to myself, how can you stop yourself without even trying? You've said no before taking the first step. And so I started just walking. I don't have to run, I don't have to sprint, I just started walking. And with every step I realized, whoa, wow, actually people are paying. There is something here. I can grow, I can make an impact. And so the confidence slowly built up over time. And I would say it's not where I want it yet, but it's certainly a lot better, stronger and better than it was a year and a half ago when I began this journey.
And also, would you say that from experience, when you go out there and you position yourself as knowing your stuff and then you deliver your content because you're a great speaker as well, then any fears that you might have in your mind that maybe people don't get it or they don't, or maybe I'm not good enough or I'm going to get it wrong, when you see the applause at the end of the day and you know you've changed people's lives and they come up and tell you, that voice might still be there, but it's a little bit quieter, and you're fighting it, going, "But this can't be real. I thought I was only okay, but they're saying that you've changed my life." True, you've experienced that yourself as well, haven't you?
Yeah, and you reminded me of an incident when I was about to publish the book. I pressed pause. I told them, "Wait, hold on," and then I started getting the jitters. I'm like, "What if people, destroy it online? What if the reviews suck? What if everyone says it's rubbish, it's garbage?" And then I asked myself, "Saahil, what is it that you want out of it?" And I said to myself, if it impacts one person, if one person's life is better as a result of my sharing and opening up and vulnerability, then I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. And so, I can't please everyone, but every now and again that email comes through and someone says, "Wow, thank you for changing my life." At the end of a talk, someone steps up to me and says, "This is amazing. I want to work with you as a coach," and etc., etc. And then that just helps to build the confidence even further. And you realize, wow, I actually have something here. But I have to say one thing, Dave. I used to, what's the best word to use here? I used to think too much about things. And then I said, no, just, trust yourself and work more with your heart. And it might sound wishy-washy to other people, but when you speak from the heart and you speak openly and you're just being brutally honest, people connect with you. When it's really scripted and everyone's like, oh, he's just reading off something, or it's clear that he said this 1,000 times exactly the same way, it doesn't come across as strong. So, I always tell people, just speak from the heart, be open, be vulnerable, and you can see the magic happen.
So true. And it has a couple of impacts, certainly as a speaker. First of all, it means that every time you deliver content, it's fresh and exciting because you're kind of making it up as you go along because you don't need to think about hitting you hit certain points that you want to get across to people, but you can tell anecdotes and you can tailor make it for the audience in front of you. And it also means you don't spend so long preparing because you know that every day in life things are happening that you can add to that story and to that relationship that you create with the audience in real time. So it means that every time somebody sees you, they're going to get a different version of your presentation because it is up to date and it is fresh and it is tailor made for them. And so they'll feel that authenticity and they'll want to share that with other people as well.
Absolutely. And just to give a recent example, I've climbed a few mountains so far, and every single mountain we reached our final destination, which was in most cases the summit. Just last month, we attempted two mountains in Mexico, which was the tallest and the third tallest mountain in Mexico, both over 5,000 meters in altitude, and we didn't make it to the summit of either. Now, that taught me a lot of lessons, and that's going to come into my talks moving forward. So just the talk I'm going to give today versus a month ago is already different.
And that's great because it evolves, it's fresh. People appreciate the fact that it is genuine, it's not out of a tin. And that's one of the things is because you're now a very well respected coach and you work with decision makers all around the world. And those guys would not invest in you unless it felt that you're walking the talk or climbing the talk in case of mountaineering that you're truly doing. Now, here's a question for you, and it's something that I think is really important and it holds a lot of people back. Now, you've invested a lot of money in your career. And I've seen such a turnaround in where you were to where you are, literally in the space of what, in about 2 years of time we've been together. A lot of people don't want to invest. A lot of people turn around and say, well, it seems like a lot of money. What's your thoughts about what you put into your career and the fast tracking it made for you to be where you are now?
When I started this journey, I still remember a conversation I had with the speaker management firm. They said, especially after COVID, so many people are coming out as speakers, as coaches, etc., etc. So you have to be able to stand out. You have to be able to look professional. I mean, let's just look at this setup we have here. It's a professional camera, lighting, microphone, etc. Before I was using my laptop camera and the mic on the laptop. And guess what? It doesn't sound as good and doesn't look as good. Now, when you start comparing to others, you're going to go, hey, well, this one, it is about perception as well. This guy or this girl, they don't look that professional, but this one here, ooh, look at that. That looks good. And if he's invested in his setup and if he speaks well and it's clear that he's gone through a lot of training, that's where I want to put my money. So it's where do you start? I mean, I'm always a believer that you invest in it's, and again, it's not a cost; it's an investment, but you're going to get return on that investment. There's no doubt in my mind.
No, I agree with you. I think it's a lot of it is about your branding, and I would think that if people can see that you've spent the money, it's like for instance in business, you walk in an Armani suit and you've got like a Mont Blanc pen, and you sit there in a meeting, you look like you are worth money, people won't argue about the money that they spend with you. But if you turn up and you don't look like you take a care in yourself, then the same thing's going to happen. People are going to say, they're going to say, why am I spending so much money on this to happen? So I think that makes a big difference. One of the things I'd like to say as well, I keep saying one of the things because I've just got that going through my head because I'm so excited to talk. Where do you see yourself going now that you're on this role? You're on this trajectory. You're working with some of the world's best coaches. You're now going to be named amongst the 100 best coaches on the planet thanks to your relationship with Marshall Goldsmith. Where's this going to take you? What can we look out for in the next 1 to 3 years?
1 to 3 years, Dave, I would say that it's just reaching out to more leaders that are part of larger organizations. I always tell the reason why I like to target leaders, and leaders doesn't necessarily mean the CEO or the managing director. It can be the senior leadership team in a company. Is that when you work with them, it filters down to the rest of the organization. And my goal is to impact as many people as I can. So one, it's to have more awareness and work with more leaders. But two, it's not always about the money. It's also about which organizations can't afford my services where I can give back sometime as well. Because there's lots of not-for-profits out there. There's some, smaller companies that are struggling but have some great messaging and social impact. So how can I help coach them to have a bigger impact in the world today? So I would say the next 1 to 3 years is just creating more awareness. And rather than people finding out about me through references and through word of mouth, it's it's perhaps being mentioned in publications and so forth, and then they're coming to me and saying, "Hey, how can we work with you?"
So we want everybody to Google Saahil Mehta, and suddenly that smile shows up, and everyone says, "That's a guy. I've got to work with this. I've got so much stuff to sort out." I mean, you work predominantly with decision makers, and it's a certain type of person who is doing well. They're really busy, but there's not enough time for them to find themselves. Would you say that's about right? That you declutter their lives for them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't declutter their lives. I give them the tools and enable them to declutter their lives. I believe that everyone is naturally creative, resourceful, and whole. So for me, I'm the Sherpa. They're the ones who are climbing to their summits. I'm there just, guiding and assisting them along the way.
So for people who want to work with you, or people who want to connect with you, or they want to get advice and buy your book and everything, how can they find you? What would be the best recommendation?
So my website is www.sahilmehta.com. That's SAAHILMEHTA.com. And they can also search my name, find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook. And for the book, they can go on Amazon and the book is there. You can purchase it online. But I'm always available for an email. So it's just sahil@sahilmehta.com. So reach out to me.
Fantastic. I've got your website here so I can scroll through and people can see. It's a gorgeous website, by the way, and it suits you perfectly. The color scheme and everything just rocks. And it makes me want to throw money at you, Sahil. I've got to be honest, you look very, 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 very cool in what you're doing here and clearly connecting around the world. Here's a life coaching question before we end our incredible interview, and it's a real pleasure having you as part of the Game Changers as one of our founder members and one of the people that I turn to most when it comes to getting advice on how to connect and work with people. If you were to change one thing based on the skill sets that you have, and you had a magic wand that you could go bing and change the way that people did stuff, what would be the thing? What's your big goal? What do you want to do to the world that would make it a better place?
Ting, let's go from operating from a zone of fear to a zone of love. That's what I would want.
I love that. That's fantastic. And I'm not going to let you off of that. I'm going to ask you another question, which is how do we make that happen? Apart from calling you, what does the world need to do to shift from that fear mindset to that abundance mindset and that happiness and that helping each other mindset?
If I talk from personal experience, Dave, when I before I went on my inward journey, I operated from a place of fear, and that fear caused a lot of violence within me and caused a lot of clutter, a lot of challenges with relationships in my own mind, with my health. And once I started removing this clutter, I started to notice that my life became more peaceful. And when my life became peaceful and I started operating from a place of love, of faith, my environment started becoming the same. And so when people ask me why I do what I do, it's really in line with my purpose, which is to eradicate violence from the world. And that starts with you. That starts with removing the violence within you. Because once you do that, everything around you changes. And just imagine that amplifying with the world's population.
When you say
And
you
what
don't mean me, Dave, do you? Look, 'cause I'm not.
I
Just
I
checking.
mean, you, the individual.
Because as far as I know, I'm pretty calm as it goes. But I agree with you completely. The world seems to have shifted. What I was hoping was going to happen was during the pandemic, everyone would suddenly discover that we're all one being and we should get together and help each other. And after it's all over, we should realize that things are vulnerable. We've all lost people that we love and care about. You and I have had a very similar and painful experience as a direct result with our fathers. But if, in fact, the opposite happened, most people became more shitty. I mean, not most people, that's unfair to say, but a lot of people just turned around and became more selfish and more me, me, me. And they learnt the wrong lessons from that whole experience. Did you feel that was the case, or is it just me feeling that everyone's become a bit more self obsessed than they were before?
Well, I'm not sure why people are the way they are now. But what I do know is there's definitely more fear in the world. And that fear is breeding more violence within. And that's perhaps causing some of the persona types that you're describing right now. But it is unfortunate because when we did see Mother Earth thriving when we left her alone, and we worked together to fight this as one, like you said, I had hoped that there would be a lot of love, but there's so much uncertainty right now. And so, again, that's breeding a lot of fear in people. And so, if we, meaning myself and everyone else out there who's looking to make impact, can help people shift from that zone of fear to a zone of love, of faith, then the world can start moving in the direction that it should.
Well, I have a lot of hope in that. And I know that from the point of view of being a mentor and a coach, we can't affect those who aren't open. But certainly those who are open, they're the ones that we want to be able to help and work with. And there's certainly plenty of them. And quite clearly, the impact you're having on a global scale is making a massive difference. So I've got to say, I'm so proud of what you're doing so far. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you as a game changer and as an industry icon as well. And I look forward to seeing where you're going to next. In fact, you said you're going somewhere next. Just for the purpose of this interview, doesn't matter when people watch it. Where are you going next, Sahil?
Going to Nashville in Tennessee, USA.
To do what?
And that's where we're going to get the training from Marshall Goldsmith himself. So, super excited.
Amazing. I'm so proud of it. I'm really glad you took the time out to catch up with us here. I look forward to seeing you in the Game Changers as well, sharing your journey and your adventures, bringing out a new book. Have you got a new one on the way? I bet you have, haven't you? You've got a new book coming soon.
It's funny you mentioned that. In fact, it just launched a couple of days ago. It's not a book that I authored myself. I'm one of 22 authors, and it's called Find Your Voice, Save Your Life. And this is about, it's all the authors are men who have found the courage to open up and be vulnerable, because we're all told as men that, don't cry, you're the man of the house, everything is your responsibility. And there's so much that gets bottled up inside of men. And unfortunately, that results in mental health challenges. I mean, even if you look at suicide rates, I believe 2/3 of the suicides are men. So this book is all about men who have opened up and transcended, in the hopes that these stories can help those out there who are seeking, who want to break out of this bottle, that's with so much pressure held inside, and transcend and become the amazing human being that they are.
I can't wait.
And so that just came out. Two days ago.
Fantastic. What's it called?
Find your voice, save your life.
Fantastic. I've got to say, from my own experiences of the challenges to my own business during lockdown and the pressure and the burnout and the experiences I've had as well, it's an overlooked thing. People don't think about the guys, and the guys don't even know what to do about it because they don't realize
Mm,
how much it's hurt them until they do actually just crack or they do actually shut
mm.
down or they have some kind of breakdown that goes with it. So I'm sure this book will be a very useful way So at least start the conversations. And also get into a community of people who feel the same way. It's just about letting it out and realizing you're not the only person. And there's always another amazing
Absolutely.
project from you. I always look forward to finding out what you're up to next because I'm going, well, that's my guy. I love it. I love everything he does. Sahil, it's been a pleasure spending quality time with you. Enjoy your trip to Nashville. Give my best regards to Marshall Goldsmith. And I look forward to more from you as a game changer and an industry icon.
Thank you, Dave.
So there we go, the incredible Sahil Mehta. Make sure you connect with him online. Make sure you find out where he is, what he's up to. Join him on LinkedIn, get him on all the socials, and I guarantee it's going to be an incredibly rewarding experience for you. We'll be talking to some more game changers and industry icons in the future. Meanwhile, make sure you connect, make sure you follow, and I'd love to find out your feedback in the comment sections below. Until next time, look after yourself and make sure you become an industry icon and a game changer too.